Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Nick.
And you're listening to It Takes Two, the podcast where two people take two movies with the same plot or premise and watch and discuss them.
And in celebration of Penguin Day, which is the 20th of January.
Yeah, International Penguin Awareness Day.
Yeah, we watched Surf's Up and Happy Feet.
Yeah.
Both movies about being yourself.
Yeah.
No matter what your society tells you to do.
Both movies about weird penguins doing weird shit.
Wow, yeah.
I mean, basically.
Yeah.
Released 7 months apart, I believe. So pretty close together.
Yeah, both is, starring pretty, massive voice actors. Happy Feet more than the other one, I guess. Because, Robin Williams, Elijah Wood, the late Brittany Murphy versus, Shia LaBeouf and Jeff Daniels. There was
not Jeff Daniels. Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, sorry.
One of the Jeffs. Jeff Bridges, Jeff. James Woods, John Heder, Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah.
You also had Nicole Kidman in Happy Feet.
Hugo Weaving.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. It was...
Gotta get those Australian actors in there.
Yeah.
In your Southern Hemisphere movies. Though Hugo Weaving inexplicably has a Scottish accent for the whole movie. It's like they're like, yeah, we've got a movie set in the Southern Hemisphere, and we're going to cast Australian actors, but we're going to make them do Northern Hemisphere accents for no apparent reason.
Look, just... the both movies are a little bizarre.
I like them.
Penguin-wise.
Oh, penguin-wise? Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got... In Happy Feet, you've got a penguin who can't sing and then has to tap dance, played by Elijah Wood. And then you got actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf playing a surfing rock hopper penguin.
Yeah.
So Elijah's playing a emperor's penguin.
Emperor penguin, yeah.
Yeah.
They both have multiple...
different species of penguins.
Yeah, which is cool.
Because I think, other than Chicken Joe, were there different penguins in Surf's Up?
There were, because
Because Cody
is a rock hopper. I think there were emperor penguins. Were there Gen 2 penguins, I think, in Surf's Up? And I think one of the directors looked like he was supposed to be the same kind of penguin as the ones that Mumble comes across in Happy Feet, one of which is played by Robin Williams, which are, what are they called? I took it down because I was interested in remembering the name of the penguin because it was one that I'm not familiar with, and now I can't find it.
Classic. When you need that information.
Adelie penguins? I don't know how it's pronounced. They're the ones that I had a look for them online while we were watching the movie and found them on New Zealand Birds Online website. So they are classed as native to New Zealand, but they were described as rare vagrants to the mainland of New Zealand, which I thought was fun.
Penguins are an interesting bird species.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people know that they're semi-flightless. And when I say semi-flightless, they don't fly in the air, they fly underwater.
Right.
And if you've ever seen penguins in actually swimming in an aquarium or a rescue, they look like they're flying.
Yeah,
They're really cool.
I love penguins.
Yeah, and apparently lots of them get handed in New Zealand because they do a thing called a single molt, because unlike regular birds who can lose feathers whenever, they have to lose them all at once, or otherwise they because it's waterproofing, because their feathers are incredibly dense, so water can't even get to their skin.
Yeah.
So it's why they can live in horribly cold places.
Yeah. Also, they're full of blubber. It's another reason they can live in cold places, and it's also one of the reasons why penguins, generally speaking, are not as endangered as other birds, because humans tried to eat them once and went, holy shit, these are the worst tasting birds on the planet, and never again.
I love how we as a species have done so much damage, and it's usually because of something tasting good.
Mm-hmm.
Was it there was a type of tortoise from the Galapagos, Darwin's tortoise, and they never got, they took ages to get a a proper registry because people keep putting on the ships to bring them back to and they just keep getting eaten.
Yeah.
Because apparently tortoises are delicious.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, but then you're vegan, I'm vegetarian, so...
Yeah, true. It's a whole subplot in Pirates in an Adventure with Scientists. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Funnily enough, another Sony Pictures animation movie, because they did Surf's Up, and it is about a band of pirates, or it's got two different names. It's Pirates in an Adventure with Scientists or Pirates Band of Misfits, depending on where in the world you watched it. But there's a whole plot point in that where it turns out that Darwin and Queen Victoria have a club where they eat, where people gather and eat rare and exotic and endangered animals.
That doesn't sound
and they're
that far-fetched.
Hunting the dodo so that Queen Victoria can eat the dodo, which has probably happened. To be perfectly honest, I'm not saying Queen Victoria ate dodo. I'm saying it doesn't shock me that Darwin and people of that era had a let's eat endangered species club.
Have I gone about my unicorn rant? I have, haven't I? At some point in this podcast.
I'm not sure.
The national animal of Scotland is a unicorn.
Yeah,
and
that's
when
true.
People went to Africa
they didn't believe in
giraffes. They were get the fuck out of here, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
A giant, spotted horse. Get out of here, buddy.
Yeah, that's not real. That couldn't be real.
One thing I haven't mentioned on the podcast before is the history of zebra. Because that's weird. When they brought zebra back, because it was just they're like horses, so we'll just treat them like horses, and they kept trying to train them to pull stuff, and zebras don't do that. And then one of the zebras, it was kept in the grounds of Windsor, if I remember correctly. This is from a Radiolab podcast, eons ago, before I met you when I listened to this. And the reason that they're really scared because their zebra kept getting sick. And then, the scientists that were talking about the zebra getting sick were laughing because they kept feeding it meat and tobacco and wondering why the zebra was sick.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I love that you're telling this story on the episode about penguins and not the episode
of when we did Madagascar. And yeah, but there was just so much to talk about, of how terrible Into the Wild was.
What I love about this duo of films is that neither of these films were made by DreamWorks or Pixar or Disney.
Yeah, you wouldn't get that these days.
And Happy Feet won an Oscar. And Surf's Up was nominated for an Oscar the following year. But it lost out to Ratatouille, so it did lose to a Pixar film. But yeah, Happy Feet is one of the few films to win Best Animated Feature in the Academy Awards that isn't produced by Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks.
Should have happened the other year.
What, you think Surf's Up should have won?
No. It should have happened with Wolfwalkers.
Oh, right.
My dad, if you haven't seen Wolfwalkers, folks, watch it. It is a hell of a lot better than what one Soul?
Was that the year Soul? Did Soul win? Maybe.
I don't know. It's just animation doing the same thing they always do to people of colour, which is half the time of the majority of the time they're in a movie, they're some sort of animated animal.
Yeah.
Princess and the Frog, and what was the other one that was really bad for it?
Emperor's New Groove?
Yes.
Brother Bear?
Yes. We'll just keep adding them to the list.
We did one. What one did we do? I remembered we talked about this in an episode because did we do an episode on one of these films? Well, it wasn't any of the ones we've just named if we did. Now I've forgotten. Now I don't even remember what episode.
What episode number is this?
What are we on now? We're only on number 39.
Wow.
It feels like we've done hundreds.
Anyway, back to the actual movies we're talking about.
Yeah.
At some point.
Continuing on talking about the production companies, the Surf's Up was only the second movie, or second movie that was produced by Sony Pictures Animation. First one was Open Season. And then Surf's Up, and it didn't get as much traction as Happy Feet did, even though it started production first, so it was in production for much longer. But they are the company that went on to make the Hotel Transylvania movies, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and more importantly for us, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Mitchells versus the Machines, which are great movies.
Yeah.
So Surf's Up is the precursor to those films.
Yeah, I didn't know about the whole Hotel Transylvania thing.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Emoji Movie.
Yeah, there's some misses in there, but I mean, some pretty big hits.
Angry Birds. How does this... Oh, I don't know. People need to stop making things out of memes.
Yeah, but I think them being able to make those films is what, gave them some commercial success to be able to... It's like Duncan Jones making the was it a World of Warcraft film? What did he make? Warhammer film? What was the film he made?
I don't know, Duncan Jones.
Warcraft, yeah, Warcraft. Was it Warcraft? I have never seen it because I have no interest in it.
It's terrible.
It is called Warcraft, right? It's a World of Warcraft film. But he made it so that he could get money to make the films he wanted to make, like Moon and Mute and Source Code. I think it was Warcraft.
Yes, it was Warcraft.
See? I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But he didn't care about that film. He wanted the money.
Yeah. I don't think anybody cared about that film.
It's I've been offered a film that can get me some commercial success that will get me money so I can fund my weird indie projects I want to make.
That's the exact same reason that our friend, your favourite anti-hero Riddick, Vin Diesel, starred in... he was a random cameo at the end of Tokyo Drift because he was trying to get the third Chronicles of Rick movie done. Because despite the huge cult following of those movies, they don't make a lot of money, which is unfortunate. Well, it is and it isn't. I think unless you're James Cameron, I think pumping a lot of money into a movie doesn't always make it better. Because what is it like? Because it would have been released when this movie's released, because this is releasing just before the Penguin Appreciation Day. It's just in our time, in the past, for you folks listening now. I saw on Reddit just before that the Avatar sequel made $135 million in its opening weekend. And it's made $350 million. Sounds
like a James Cameron film.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting when this movie releases, because it'll either have
when this episode releases.
Yeah, sorry. When the episode releases.
When this movie we're making about two movies about penguins.
Yeah. To see how things have changed. But that's the thing, you can either put a lot of effort into something, or you can throw a lot of money at it. And it just makes a lot of money, but it has no staying power. Name a Transformers movie.
Transformers.
But name anything about it.
Shia LaBeouf's in it.
Yeah. Other than that, though.
No, I don't know.
It's just...
Haley Steinfeld is in one, isn't she?
Yeah.
Where she makes friends with a car that you're allergic to.
I'm not allergic to bumblebees. What are you talking about? Bumblebees can't do anything. What are you on about? And I normally have a weird reaction when it's bloody hot. Anyway, back to the movies. So Elijah Wood tap dances, Shia LaBeouf surfs. These movies, obviously the underlying theme, even if this wasn't the intention going in, because obviously you got a movie about penguins who surf and a movie about a penguin who has no heart song, so therefore his heart song is tap dancing. And the whole weird subplot of aliens was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're both the moral of the story is being yourself no matter what other people say.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was originally intended, because it seems like a weird...
That's definitely the whole intention of Happy Feet.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of Happy Feet. is, you know, he's a bit different and people treat him differently, but he's still happy.
Yeah.
And he's still happy to be himself. And
there's a little flick in that.
Oh, yeah. From A Bug's Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. He's very cute when he's a little baby penguin, and he's like tap dancing, and they're like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm happy. And he's like, what are your feet doing? They're happy too. And it's very cute.
Yeah, I hadn't seen any of these movies.
Yeah, I'd seen them both. I think I'd only seen Happy Feet once, but I'm not 100% sure. Surf's Up I've seen a few times. I really enjoy Surf's Up.
I found Happy Feet to be the better movie.
Well, Happy Feet's the one that won an Oscar, so you and the Academy are in agreement.
But
Happy
it's
Feet's
lower rated.
Lower rated on IMDb. Happy Feet did get, it earned way more money box office wise, than Surf's Up did. I love Surf's Up. I think I was looking at the animation of it. I think the animation in Happy Feet has aged worse. Like you would know it was from 2006, whereas if you're watching Surf's Up, that could have been made this year. You know what I mean? Like, it hasn't aged.
Yeah.
Whereas Happy Feet, they did a lot of mocap stuff for it, which is weird for a penguin movie. Mocap with humans, not with penguins. Also, they did a lot of live action sequences.
That bit weirded me out because I literally remember talking to you, which is what we normally don't do during the movie because otherwise we ruin this chemistry we have right now. Because you're always like, something, and I'm like, save it for the podcast. Yeah, the live action people, because when I first saw it, I was like, is that CGI?
Yeah.
Am I confused now?
It is the first Best Animated Feature Oscar winner to feature live action sequences.
Yeah.
And also non-animated elements and telescopic imaging from space. But apparently the Academy standard for being nominated is it must be at least 75% animated.
That's not that much.
I mean...
75%.
Yeah.
That's not that much for an animated movie.
Yeah. It's most of it.
Yeah, but...
3/4 of it has to be animated.
Yeah, but if you had a delicious slice of brownie and I licked 75% of it, would you be happy?
What? No, you mean the opposite, 25%.
If I licked the 25%, would you still want to eat it?
No, I'd be quite upset with you.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's this. I mean, I think they're choosing to put the
they're choosing to lick the penguins. These. I really enjoy penguins. I think they're
penguins.
Neat. My favorite.
I just think they're neat.
My favorite penguin movie is March of the Penguins.
Yep.
Which I actually own.
Yeah, came out in 2005. These were, I think, December 2006 and June 2007. So
yeah.
Riding on that wave.
The penguin wave.
The penguin wave. Madagascar came out, I think, was it between March of the Penguins and Happy Feet?
Must have.
So also in the penguin wave.
Yeah, because that franchise is nuts.
Yeah, that's gone full penguin at this point.
Yeah. Definitely penguin related.
We're supposed to compare the films, I guess, because that's the point of the podcast, isn't it?
I think we just watch and discuss them. I think that's the tagline.
Yeah. That's true, actually. That is the tagline. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. We don't have to. No. Yeah. I think you're right. I think that it's the real. I mean, first of all, they were released within a year of each other. They're both about penguins. They're both animated movies.
Yeah.
Surf's Up even gets a dig in at Happy Feet right in the opening sequence, which is fun. Because they're like, oh, you're a penguin who can surf, and he's like, what else? Or no, they're like, oh, what else are you doing? He's like, what, like singing and dancing? She's like, I wonder, did they add that in after Happy Feet was released, or did they just know as they were producing it that was also in production?
Who knows? It's like the whole Houdini thing.
Surf's Up did start production first, though, so they were already in production when Happy Feet started, and then Happy Feet released first. So, and then made more money and won an Oscar.
Awkward.
Yes. Not great for the people who made Surf's Up, but they eventually won their Oscar with Into the Spider-Verse. So
Yeah, true.
it just took them a few years. Like a full decade. And they should have, in fairness, they should have won with Mitchell's versus the Machines as well.
Yes, that movie is fantastic.
That is an unbelievable film.
It popped up the other day for recommended, and I was like, I really want to watch this again, and I'm going to at some point. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just watch it again. I don't know if there's anything we could compare it to for the podcast, but that would be fun if we could.
No, there's really nothing.
Nothing like it.
Yeah. Like, there's a one episode of Love, Death and Robots that's similar.
Right.
And there's another... Is it animated? No, it's like a weird... There was another thing about, like, robot servants killing everybody, but that's again live action.
You can compare a live action and
I
an
think
animated
it's
film.
a show.
Our next episode is going to be comparing a live action film and an animated film, but I'm not going to say what they are.
I don't even remember, so I'm not helpful for you at home because I don't remember anything.
It's going to be a fun one, guys. It's going to be an interesting comparison. But I will convince you, as I do when we normally do our fun episodes, I will convince you that our two movies in our next episode are the same film.
Then I'll just rant about the one I didn't like as much.
I think you like both of them.
Okay.
You've seen both of them.
I don't remember what they are.
Okay. Anyway, it's not what we're talking about this week. But on the...
What are we talking about this week?
This week we're talking about Penguin movies.
Yeah.
But on the topic of... you were talking about individual episodes of things. I found that if we were going into other media, we could have compared one of these films to a different media production that happened that year, which was another piece of media where a character played by Elijah Wood hatches from an egg and is forced to find where he belongs. And that is The Legend of Spyro: A New Beginning.
I don't think we've got time to play an entire game series.
I just love, because it came up in the trivia for it, and I was like, oh my god, it is the same. So Happy Feet and Spyro are the same. You heard it here first, folks. But I do like that there's two 2006 pieces of media where Elijah Wood hatches from an egg and has to find out where he belongs.
Talk about typecasting.
It's a bit of a weird typecast.
We want someone with a recognisable voice, but not super masculine, and also would be believable coming out of an egg. Yeah. The casting director goes, I've got the perfect person.
I know who it is. But that's like the recent Cinema Therapy episode where they talked about Rise of the Guardians and Chris Pine voicing Jack Frost, who is like a permanent teenager, and it's like a 40-something-year-old man who sounds like a 40-something-year-old man voicing him. And the question was posed, who would you cast instead? And it's Elijah Wood, 100%. Like, just get him to do the same voice he does for Wirt and Over the Garden Wall. Exactly. And he's perfect. Because that's a grown man who can voice a teenager and sound like a teenager. Yeah. Which I guess is probably what they're going for in Happy Feet as well, in fairness, because his whole shtick is that he hatched late and he like doesn't grow out of his feathers properly and stuff, so he doesn't reach maturity in the same way that the other penguins do.
I also like the fact that his like feathers formed a little bow tie.
It's
and that he's
cute.
like tap dancing the entire time, so he looks like he's actually wearing like a tuxedo.
And also, they deliberately put in 3 little dots above his ankles, which mimic the outfit that Fred Astaire wore when he would be dancing. Right. So they were going for a Fred Astaire look with the bow tie and the little dots over his shoes, his feet. Which is cute.
Can we talk about the human influence in
both films?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we only really see one bit of human influence in Surf's Up, which is in the in memoriam of Chicken Joe's dad.
Yeah, which was
Chicken Bob.
Yeah, Chicken Bob was Cody, who's Shia LaBeouf's character, and who plays Chicken Joe?
John Heder.
Okay. Both of their character arcs are super dark because Shia LaBeouf's dad gets eaten by a killer whale.
Yeah.
which almost happens in Happy Feet.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Chicken Joe's dad literally was like a 6-piece bucket.
It's so good because the whole, we haven't mentioned it yet, but if you haven't seen Surf's Up, the whole thing is shot as a mockumentary.
Yeah.
So it's like they're interviewing Cody as the underdog for this surfing competition. And he's like, there's a bit where he's like, oh, you know, I never really knew my dad. And then it shows like a photo of him and zooms out, and in the photo the killer whale is about to come down and eat him.
Yeah.
And then when they're talking to Chicken Joe later, he's like, oh yeah, you know, we have so much in common. I didn't really know my dad either. And then it shows a photo of his dad, Chicken Bob, and then it zooms out and it's a basically a KFC bucket.
Yeah.
See,
I don't like. I prefer, so in the genre of the mockumentary,
yeah,
I prefer a found footage thing, like REC.
right.
Like, I think that's fantastic. There's certain shots of a movie you haven't watched yet, Dawn of the Dead, that were done the same way.
Mm-hmm.
The remake, not the original, folks. The what was that weird movie we watched recently? I Am Charles.
Oh.
What's his name? Charles Palesco?
Charles Petrescu.
Charles Petrescu.
I love that movie. It was so good. What was it called? What was the name of the other guy in it? Because it's Brian. Is it Brian and Charles?
Yeah, Brian and Charles.
Brian. I'm Charles Petrescu. Watch that movie, guys. That's a good movie.
That is very odd. But again, like...
Wonderful.
The mockumentary style thing, certain parts of it don't make any sense because it's like, how would the camera crew be there? Like...
Yeah, there's bits in that where... I feel like that movie would work better if they didn't make it a mockumentary, but there's bits where you're like, okay, why would he be saying this to the camera when he's like supposed to be trying to keep it secret? And it's like, how did the camera crew get this shot?
Yeah.
And in Surf's Up, they do that a little bit because there's bits where like they film it as if there's like a GoPro on his surfboard, which works really well, except then they shot him on the surfboard and there's no GoPro on it. They should have like put it in there.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a small mistake. I feel like they stick to the mockumentary thing a lot more in Surf's Up, and part of what makes that work is that they actually got and any time that they're interviewing people, rather than like just showing what's happening, when they're doing like interview segments, which they've cut throughout the film, those are all improvised. They got the voice actors to improvise them.
Yeah.
And then animated around it, and it works really well.
Because I think, did a Toy Story start there?
The bloopers?
The bloopers thing?
No, A Bug's Life.
Did A Bug's Life do it?
I don't think they did it in... I don't think they did it in the first Toy Story. I think A Bug's Life was the first one to do it.
Maybe it was Toy Story 2.
Yeah, Toy Story 2 definitely had them, because you had like
Does that mean I've seen Toy Story 2 if I know there's bloopers in the end of it?
Probably. Did you think you hadn't seen Toy Story 2? Toy Story 2 was a wonderful film.
Is that the one
Stinky Pete the Prospector?
Yes, I have seen that.
I just remember his bloopers. Yeah, the Toy Story 2 is a great one. It's got Jessie and Bullseye and, you know, the Woody's Roundup stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good movie.
Because he's like a collector's item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all in the second movie.
Yeah. And the third one's got an angry, evil bear in it, right?
Yes, lots of hugging bear.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. That's
good. That's a very good movie. We should watch that sometime.
Okay.
Fourth one, you can leave it.
Okay.
In my opinion. But the third one was very good. But the third one was very good in that it catered to its audience. I don't know. I think the fourth one was trying to... I don't know what the fourth one was trying to do.
Trying to reboot?
I think it was trying to do fun stuff aimed at small kids and then also, like, go into, like, existential crisis territory, and it was weird.
Oh, so it was aimed at millennials.
Well, they're all aimed at millennials because because the first one was aimed at kids and it was millennials when they were kids, or, you know... Because the oldest millennials were, born in 1980, so they would have been 15 when the first Toy Story came out. I think my age is what the Toy Story films are aimed at. Because the first Toy Story film came out when I was a kid, the second one when I was about 8 or 9, and then the third one came out in 2009, so I was 18 when the third film came out, and it was about Andy going to college.
Yeah.
So it was my age group is who they were aiming at all, because I think I was around the same age as Andy the whole way, if that makes sense. Whereas then the fourth one, I don't know what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it. because
You're trying to find what age millennials are, or when Toy Story came out. I think 1980 is the beginning of millennials. Would that be right?
Probably Wikipedia's not going to help me. This is a thing called where millennials end and Generation Z begins. So you can tell by the memes, folks.
Here we go. So between 1981, 81.
Yeah, it was 81.
So 81 to 96 is millennial age.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's... I feel like my younger brother is more Gen Z than millennial, but
wow.
They are right on the cusp.
Hey, I don't agree with her, bro. It's all good.
Well, I mean... That's my experience of TikTok is just what Connor sends me via Facebook.
No, your experience of TikTok is me watching friggin' compilations.
YouTube compilations of it, yeah. Yeah, so but millennials from 1981. So I think the first Toy Story film came out in 95. So that would be 14. So the oldest millennials would have been 14 when it came out, and the youngest millennials hadn't been born yet. But but I think it's like mid-range millennials, so your age, my age, is what the Toy Story, the first three were aimed at, because they grew up with us.
I saw it in theatres.
Yeah.
Talking of millennials, I saw a really funny meme the other day.
Yeah.
And it was like, why are you millennials so sad all the time and complain? It's like, because when we were 10 years old, we watched 2,000 people die live on television and nothing got better.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was... Yeah, I was 10 at the time.
Yeah.
2001. Yeah. There you go. Facts.
Yeah. And as we know, it's all Coleman's fault.
And then my granddad died the next month.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about? So the mockumentary style. So you didn't like the mockumentary style stuff in Surf's Up?
No.
I really liked it. I thought it was fun. Because I like how it's edited.
Yeah, it doesn't... To me, it always takes me out of the movie. Because you're either... In a movie, you're supposed to, like, give off your disbelief and just be like, I'm in the movie. But then... Because I don't think I've seen it work well.
Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows?
Yes.
You don't think it works well in What We Do in the Shadows?
I do, but it's not as... I think, like, the style of What We Do in the Shadows works.
Yeah. Well, I think Surf's Up was going for a similar style earlier than What We Do in the Shadows, obviously, but it was using the mockumentary format, as What We Do in the Shadows does, using the mockumentary format to aid in doing really comedic editing.
Yeah.
So to edit things in a comedic way. So you have like this sequence where, Cody is acting all cool and be like, oh, I just knew he needed some space, so I left him be. That's a respectful thing to do. And then they intercut it with him being like, oh my God, you're big as he. And, like totally disparate. Or like the bit where they're interviewing Lonnie and the little kid just walks out and flops into the water behind her when she's like, you gotta be really attentive as a lifeguard, That
was funny. It's like, you've been unconscious 5 times this week. That's not good for your brain.
Yeah. So I think they use it to do like really improve their comedic timing and help with this like editing style that they want to do. So my guess would be they wanted to edit it in a comedic way, and the best way they saw to do that was to use this tool. It also then allowed them to do the, improvised scenes with the actors. It's one of the few animated films where the voice actors were all in the same room as each other when they're in scenes together and actually recorded their voices together, because more often than not you just go in and just record a bunch of lines and leave. Whereas this, they got to actually be in the same space. They gave the voice actors props so they could like pretend they were like, I think Zooey Deschanel carried around a bag of sand or something instead of the squid, and they let I think it was either James Woods or Jeff Bridges, one of them, because they both do it, they let them actually like throw shit at the crew because their character's doing it. And then the people who are voicing the characters who are interviewing them are the actual directors of the film. So they really used that as a tool to get in the kind of style that they wanted and the editing style they wanted and the the flow that they wanted, I think. And I thought it worked, but...
See, so the whole premise of Surf's Up is they're doing like an international surfing tournament.
Yeah, on a fictional Pacific island.
Yeah.
Called Pangu Island.
So you've got the idea that you've got a televised sports competition. So if they'd cut it down to having those sequences as they're being interviewed by the network,
right,
that would have worked for me.
Well, they had some of the network things, but this was supposed to be as like a documentary crew going in and documenting it.
Yeah, but I agree with your earlier statement of like if they're gonna put a GoPro
on the surfboards, you need to show it. I think there were a few goofs like that where they could have done it better.
Yeah.
But they even have fun bits where there's like when is her name Lanny? I think it's Lanny, brings him up to Geek in the first place, and he's like, who's this guy? And she's like, oh, he's been hurt, I need to check him. And then he's like, who are all those? And they're like, she's just like, they're with him, it's okay. And then there's a bit where they're like following Chicken Joe and the cameraman gets hit by the spear.
Yeah.
So I like that kind of stuff.
No, that's fair enough.
Because I feel like the example you gave before of Brian and Charles.
Yeah.
The camera people don't seem to be impacted by anything.
Yeah.
Whereas what we do in the shadows, you get like this, they're filming these vampires and stuff, and they're like, no, we don't eat them because they're the documentary crew, we leave them alone. And then there's a scene with the werewolves, and it's like, oh shit, and like one of the documentary crew members actually, or like one of the videographers is actually like eaten by a werewolf.
I think dark comedies work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I like it. I think it works. But I mean, I think it's always good for the podcast when we disagree.
Fair enough.
When we've got different, because you obviously are more of a fan of Happy Feet.
Yeah, out of the two of them, I enjoyed Happy Feet more. Would I say I'm a fan of it? Musicals just, I don't know.
Yeah, I did. One of the notes I took down was that a jukebox musical starring singing penguins is such a weird concept.
Yeah.
It's like, why? That's a weird thing to come up with. Like, I understand why they decided to make Surf's Up into a mockumentary. I don't understand why they decided to do like a jukebox musical for Happy Feet.
I will say one thing though.
What?
The music in Happy Feet is better than
the music in Surf's Up?
Yeah, because the Surf's Up the music in it is extremely dated for the era it was made in.
Right.
Because it's all that sort of surfer skater music. And you're just like, oh wow, is this like a Tony Hawk? That is
funny, yeah, because animation style wise, Happy Feet is the more dated, but music wise, Surf's Up is more dated because Happy Feet used a selection of music from different eras and genres and things.
And styles as well.
Yeah. I'm going to interrupt us for a moment because this is our first ever sponsored episode.
Yes, we have a sponsor.
We have a sponsor, and I'm conscious that I don't want the episode to run away with itself before we talk about our sponsor. So, this week we are sponsored by Photo Restore.
With an F. PhotoRestoreNZ.com.
That's... Oh, yeah. I was like, what? Yes, the website is PhotoRestoreNZ.com. That's a photo with an F.
Yeah.
And what they have done is essentially they have developed an AI that will restore your photos.
And if you're like us folks and you've spent Christmas away from family, but you've been going through old photos, this is a perfect gift for somebody, especially if you've got photos that are like, because I remember going to your parents' place when we visited Ireland and seeing a lot of your old family photos that were sun damaged or just damaged in general. So what the website offers you is the AI to go through and restore damaged photos, do colour.
Yeah, so they have two options. One is just restoring photos, so that can be if there's some damage to the photo, or if there is a compression from, like, if you've lost the originals of your photo, you just have the compressed version from social media and it's looking a little blurry, or if you've taken a photo somewhere and it doesn't look as crisp as you wanted it to, it can help with that. And then the other option is to colorize black and white photos or non-colored photos. Which is pretty. And to be honest, they're pretty cheap to begin with.
But with our promo code, it takes two, all one word.
Yeah, you get 25% off your purchase.
Yeah, so check out photorestorenz.com.
Yeah, and I have bought some photos restorations from there. At the time of recording, I don't have them yet, but we're recording far enough in advance that by the time the episode comes out, I expect I will. And I will post some of those in our Discord so people can see a before and after maybe of the photos that I've put in. So if you wanna check out some examples, join our Discord. Links in description. Links in the description. It's like I'm on YouTube. Link in the show notes and on our Twitter and our website.
Along with the link to the website.
Yes, we will put a link to photorestorenz.com in our show notes also.
So yes, 25% off with our promo code. Yeah. It takes two.
And they charge per photo, so if you get 4 photos, the 4th one is free. Yeah. Essentially. That's how it works.
Anyway, back to the movies. Yeah, it's interesting having a look at, like, because I think music can really date a movie. Because what was a movie that we watched together that would, like, for some reason we'd hyped it up in our heads for it? Oh, it was Guns Akimbo.
Yeah, that had weird
soundtrack.
The reason you were saying we hyped that up, that was supposed to be our first date, and then we never went on it.
Yeah. Stupid COVID. Locking down everything, so everything's shut.
That was going to be the first movie we saw in cinema together, and then we didn't, but we did eventually see it, and the movie or the music is really weird now.
Yeah.
Really weird.
It's interesting because there you get movies where I think Nolan does it the best, where the music amplifies what you're seeing. Where I think, like, that's, like, the visuals are good, the music makes it better. The issue that I always had with, what the hell was the example I was just going to use? Crap.
It's not Guns Akimbo?
No. But Guns Akimbo, well, I'll use Guns Akimbo as, like, if you have an awesome action sequence... Oh, here I'll go to my actual example, which I remembered in a second. If you have an awesome action sequence and then you find a song that you can put to it, you can put anything to it. And the amount of times I have gone... For some reason, this pops up for me on my YouTube algorithm all the time, because I think I watched, like, 2 action clips at the same time with Freebird, Leonard Skinner's Freebird.
Right, okay.
And now there are just... For some reason, there's like a weird genre on YouTube of people putting scenes from movies that we all know. The example I was going to use was the massacre sequence in the church from The Kingsman.
Right.
You can put any friggin' song you want to it. Yeah. Because the sequence is awesome.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter about the music.
Do you know who does it best, though?
Who?
Edgar Wright.
Yes.
That's the best example. But what he does is he picks the music first and choreographs the action sequence to the music. Yeah. That's Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Was all...
Oh my god, I love Baby Driver.
So every time there's a song of Baby Driver, which is for the whole movie, first of all, Edgar Wright, I don't know if it's him specifically or his team, very good at picking movies or music for a soundtrack.
Yeah.
But then also... every beat of the action is on a beat of the music, and it works perfectly. It does mean that you probably could put in another piece of music so long as it's got the right tempo or something. But it's really, really well done, and that's you need someone with the same level as whoever is picking Edgar Wright's music for his movies, whether it's himself or someone else. They need to be the people who are picking music for any movie that's using a soundtrack of established songs.
Because the negative aspect of that would be, in my opinion, John Williams.
What do you mean?
Because his music makes the scene better.
Right.
Because the scene's boring and the music makes it awesome.
Well, John Williams is just a great composer.
Yeah.
But this is like there's a big difference, I think, as well between composed music for a film and pre-existing
that's
tracks.
true.
Which is why I referred to Happy Feet as a jukebox musical, because it's based on, the musical is songs that are already existing.
Yeah, if the actors had been in like a weird time-locked 1950s diner, it would have worked as well.
Yeah, true.
Maybe not the dancing and being penguins and being abducted by aliens. We still haven't covered the aliens part. So the aliens they're referring to in it are people.
Yeah.
But I'd never, other than the weird memes, about, the fish that get thrown back tell their mates they've been abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
It's that weird concept of,
what do they think?
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic, because, I mean, I think, in the vast majority of the world, or, anywhere that's populated by humans, animals are quite used to being around humans.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's set in Antarctica, where humans are pretty scarce, and there's these birds that, one of them had been picked up by humans, and they put a tag on it so they could monitor it in the wild, as humans do, and the bird is these aliens got me and they put this thing on me and then they let me out, and it's that is what they think. I mean, they have no concept of aliens, but this weird giant creature took me and did some tests on me and then put this thing on my leg and set me back into the wild is a batshit concept if you've no clue what's going on.
Do you know what that whole sequence made me want to do?
What?
Watch the original Independence Day, and God, not the reboot. No, not reboot.
The sequel.
Yeah. Because that whole sequence is just him being so justified, and then being a massive hero, but by killing himself. But the whole thing of just being he was abducted by aliens and he's a bit crazy because of it. It's no, motherfucker, I was right. There are fucking aliens in the sky. I was right all along. Fuck all you people.
Yeah.
I was warning you, they're coming. But yeah, because I think, from what I know, there's a lot of confusion around animal behavior in relation to humans. We get this really toxic, alpha personality style thing, which is apparently from dogs, and it's if you actually look into how it works, it's not that way. And you look at, in my opinion, one of the most interesting social groups within, pack animals, which is hyenas, which you have a matriarchy system, and you look at great apes and you have one male who protects a harem of females, and it works for gorillas, and then chimpanzees are have breeding pairs, and it's very interesting when you dig into this concept, which in my favourite is how cats view humans, and it's just there is no concept of us being different from them to them.
Yeah.
It is we're just weird, furless, clumsy cats.
Yeah.
And they don't understand our behaviour as much as we don't understand why the hell at 3 a.m. they have to defeat the goblins that live in the walls. It's an interesting concept of, you're saying a population of a species of animals being so isolated from humans and coming across humans would be the exact same experience we would have being abducted by aliens. Yeah.
It's what is this? I had no concept that there even was. Especially, on Antarctica, where, there's nothing for ages except water.
Yeah.
So, they're not going to be... if they're a species of penguin that don't migrate...
Yeah.
They don't know anything about it. Whereas we get penguins here in New Zealand, But we get species of penguins that do migrate, or that can live further, further north, closer to the equator than the ones that have to live down on the actual thing.
2 points.
Yep.
I remembered now. It is very warm at the moment, folks. My brain don't work well in an enclosed
we're at
environment.
The height of summer.
The reason I liked Happy Feet more than I liked Surf's Up wasn't actually related to the movies. It was the environmental message about stopping fucking fishing in those areas.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm not going to get into the politics right now, but, like, New Zealand waters get violated all the time by certain countries. You've still got issues with whaling, even though it's, like, banned, but, like, under research purposes, which is, like, a load of shit. So I think that whole, the whole like concept of this bunch of people yelling at each other in the UN was fantastic. Of like, I don't want to live on a planet without any penguins. It's like the sustainability of fish, like as a person who was for a small time pescatarian. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah, and not the other thing, which is a weird religion.
It's not a weird religion.
No,
Presbyterianism?
Yeah.
It's not a weird religion. It's just a form of Protestantism from Christianity.
Yeah, so weird.
All right.
No, because I always get them confused. I always get the words confused.
Pescatarian and Presbyterian?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Like, squid is the most sustainable fish to eat.
Which they eat in Surf's Up.
Yeah, that's true. Which kind of is used as, like, drugs a little bit.
In Surf's Up?
Chicken Joe is clearly a stoner.
Clearly a stoner.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, I think they had written Chicken Joe already, but then they said once they watched Napoleon Dynamite, they could not cast anyone else except John Heder. They were like, we need him. They also cast, did you know who played Tank? The large man? Oh, you know who played him?
Yeah. I can't remember the actor's name, but I definitely recognise the voice.
But you know what he's from?
Office Space.
Oh yeah, he is in Office Space, I think, is he?
It's the next door neighbour.
But Diedrich Bader, that's his name.
Yeah.
But he also is in Napoleon Dynamite. He plays Rex, the guy with the Taekwondo. Yeah. So I thought it was funny that they brought in two Napoleon Dynamite. They were like, we just got to cast. They must have just been big fans of Napoleon Dynamite. Let's bring all the cast of Napoleon Dynamite into our Penguin movie. Anyway, that's not what we were talking about. That's just a side note. Yeah, the environmental message. I think Happy Feet gets really dark all of a sudden.
Which is good.
Yeah, but it goes from because there's hints at the human stuff, because I mean there's first of all the bird with the tag on his leg, and then you have the rockhopper penguin who's got the plastic rings around his neck, and they're like, oh, he's been to the place with the mighty people or whatever, and then he's like, no, I just went swimming and I got this stuck on me, and he's choking for a solid 20 minutes of the movie. And then there's a bit where he's hanging from a bell, and I was like, wow, this is really dark.
Yeah.
And then he breaks free and he's okay. But and there's also then obviously the whole thing about the fish. For some reason, it's a really weird. They made a really weird choice in that they made the emperor penguins cultists. They're all a member of some weird cult where they believe that their god hates dancing so much that we should have compared this with Footloose.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
They believe their god hates dancing so much that he's punished them by taking the fish away, and Mumble's like, no, I think these aliens might have taken the fish. I'm gonna go find out. But then it just gets really, really dark because he ends up in a zoo.
Yeah. And
not understanding what's going on, and trying,
and hallucinating his family. Yeah,
and they've painted the walls to look like Antarctica, so he walks into the walls, and then he's like, okay, I'll swim away, and he swims into the glass, and there's people watching him, and then it's over weeks he starts to lose his mind, and then he's just he's hallucinating his family through the wall, so he's throwing fish at the wall, and then he just ends up just standing staring at his own reflection and doing nothing. And then a little girl tapping on the glass makes them tap dance, and then suddenly global warming is saved, because all that needed to happen all along is the penguins needed to entertain us. If penguins just danced for our enjoyment, then we could put them back in the wild and watch them dance in the wild, and then we would stop
That is
Eating fish.
100% not the fuck what humans would do.
I know.
You name any animal that can do some form of performance and they'll be abused.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I would like. So you're watching the movie and he starts dancing and the people start going on. And I was like, oh god, this guy's dead. And then
he's doomed us all.
And then they send him back to where he came from, and he's got like the tracker on him, and he makes all the penguins dance. And I was like, oh god, they're all gonna get. Just gonna take them all away from here and put them on like in circuses, but no. Instead, they solve sustainability problems.
Yeah.
Which is not what would happen.
No.
Also, it seems like not what would happen in the world, because Happy Feet 2... So we watched both of these films on Netflix, and Happy Feet 2 came up as a suggestion, and we watched some of the trailer for it, and it seems to be about humans continuing to pollute and eat birds. So, obviously, even in the world of Happy Feet, the sustainability stuff doesn't last.
No, of course not. Because as soon as you get a new government in, they're just like... My billionaire friends aren't making billions of dollars by destroying the environment. We need to stop that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, sustainability, like, there's a simple solution in my mind, and there is no reason why governments would dislike this idea. I just think it'd be... I hate the term political suicide because it gets thrown around with friggin' everything these days.
Mm-hmm.
Like Three Waters in New Zealand. Oh, it's political suicide and everything. It's like, why? We're just giving people responsibility who are in charge of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not going to go into politics now, but like the shit that the opposition have been saying is driving me insane. But anyway, my point being... the simple solution would be putting a tax on any product that is not sustainable.
Yep.
Just like, if we have a carbon tax, why is there not a sustainability tax?
Yeah.
Like, if you can grow salmon and then farm salmon, why isn't there a tax on wild caught salmon?
Yeah, instead you find that the sustainable options are generally more expensive. Yeah. Because I find that, at work, I'm not going to say what my job is or where I work. A lot of people listen to, well, not a lot, well, people who know me know where I work anyway. But,
they know where you live.
Yes, you also live here, and you used to work where I work. No, but where I work, part of the organization's policies is supporting sustainability and things like that. And so when I do purchases, like if I'm raising a purchase order and things like that for actual, because normally when I'm doing purchase orders, they're for services, not goods. But when I'm doing them for goods, it is promoted by the organization that I should be looking at sustainable options. So I get the go ahead to pay extra to get these sustainable options, which I think is great. So like, you know, if I'm buying stationery stuff, I get the recyclable pens and whatever the case may be. And I think more places should be doing that. But like you said, if there was a tax on the non-sustainable options, then people they'd find a way to make sustainable options cheaper.
Yeah.
Because the only reason they're not at the moment is the people who are making the cheap stuff don't care about sustainability.
Yeah. As long as they're getting billions of dollars worth of profit, they literally don't give a shit about anything.
Yeah.
And you look at like the burning of the Amazon and like this palm oil thing, and everybody's like, oh, no palm oil, like, or this weird like sustainable palm oil, and it's like, what the hell does it even mean? If you had to burn down forests to plant palm oil, it's not sustainable in the first place. So the
sustainable palm oil stuff, I don't know if it's the same now, but when I had researched it a long time ago, it was to do with the fact that the majority of palm oil at the time was coming from, I think, Malaysia and Borneo, which are where orangutans habitats are. So they were destroying forests and you know, endangering orangutans and other creatures that live in those areas, and putting in these palm oil or these palm forests. And then the sustainable options were, instead of being in that area, were in areas of Southern America or South America. My brain gets confused whether I should say South or Southern for different countries and different areas. I was like, because I said the South Hemisphere earlier.
Yeah.
Anyway, South America. Areas of South America where there is more space for them to do this without destroying as much of natural habitat, I think. But now, like, people, like, the president of Brazil sanctioned, like, burning the Amazon and stuff.
That guy's a moron.
The whole I don't think any of that's sustainable anymore.
The whole concept of him saying that it was, like, political assassination when the entire world was complaining because the Amazon was on fire and they were literally doing nothing about it, and he was blaming the global media for making him look bad, and it was like, no, literally everyone's telling you to put the fucking fire out, you idiot. Like, like, how corrupt does it have to be? And it's like, the common misconception is like, oh, the Amazon is the Earth's lungs and without it we'll all suffocate. That's not the truth. It's actually algae and plankton that produce like 70% of the oxygen. The issue is we're also polluting the ocean. And the ocean's fucked. So, you know, like... As
shown in Happy Feet.
Yeah. We are so self-destructive, it's just disgusting. Like, it's actually ridiculous. And, like, you like, one of my favourites is statistics of just, like, you know, like this whole concept, like just recently, that again, politics, I don't like going into it because it's not my forte, even though for some reason
you keep bringing it up.
I keep bringing it up. You know, this whole kickback on rail workers being declined a pay rise, yet they've just signed off millions of dollars to go help Ukraine. And it's like, so I understand Ukraine's an issue, but for the land of the free and home of the brave, shouldn't you be giving people what they're worth? So it's perfectly okay for railway workers to not have sick days and get paid less money than like a manager at McDonald's.
Well, here's the thing.
But you can send Titan missiles to another country.
I was gonna say you're talking U.S. government here, right?
Democrats are in power. Like,
yeah, no, I know, but you're talking about the United States of America.
Yeah.
All of their funding is gone to the military.
Yeah.
just cut some military spending, and you could solve the poverty issues in the United States.
Yes and no. It is a way more complicated issue.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not just like blanket. Here's the easy thing, but like way a much higher percentage of their overall country's money goes towards military budget.
That's why the simple solution for America's problem is by making it like the EU. So each state is a self-governing system. And if certain states don't have the ability to self-govern, then they could be, you know, that's their problem. That's, you know.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Well, the reality is if California want to do something and a friggin' senator from another state decides that they gets his buddies together and they can't, it's like, why is that fair on the people that live there? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
The USA is a very weird big country.
Nobody who...
It's basically the same size as Europe.
Yeah.
As a whole continent.
And they have such a massive amount of tax revenue. Yet, like, you have people that are literally friggin' striking so they can get basic, like, living wages. And yet, like, you look at how much difference between all the billionaires have increased their own, like, self-worth in the last 10 years. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Anyway, speaking of different continents, this episode is all about Antarctica. So I'd like to shout out to our Zero Antarctica listeners. But if you listen... One
day, folks. If you know somebody on Twitter or
if you know anyone
TikTok, I guess,
in Antarctica who is able to listen to things from down there, or is able to download stuff from the
internet. Just one episode, folks. All you need to do...
Send them this episode. This is the episode. Yeah, this is our Antarctica episode. It's about penguins. We're coming up on International Penguin Awareness Day. So yeah, we're talking about sustainability, environmental issues in Antarctica specifically. Come on. Send this episode to your friends in Antarctica. get them to listen to it. If you're listening to this episode from Antarctica, please tweet at us or post on our Discord or send us an email. Let us know that you're in Antarctica and you've listened to us.
Because then we'd listen to it on every single continent.
Yes.
And that's what this whole podcast is about, damn it. I am so sweaty. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very warm. We want to look at some trivia and box office-y facts.
Yeah. Hit me with a big shot.
Okay, trivia first or box office stuff first?
Well, the box offices, they both were about 100 million each.
Yeah, so IMDb says 100 million each. The numbers, which is normally more accurate, says only 85 million budget for Happy Feet, whereas 100 million for Surf's Up. In terms of box office, Happy Feet made $385 million and Surf's Up made $145 million. So about $200 million less.
only $40 million profit. What a shame.
Yeah. Adjusted for inflation, I looked at it and I think it's about 580 million for Happy Feet and just shy at 200 million for Surf's Up, adjusted for inflation. Yeah, so Happy Feet definitely made more money.
Yeah.
And got more of the awards and stuff. Trivia. So, Happy Feet is actually the highest grossing film of the careers of both Brittany Murphy and Nicole Kidman, which is shocking to me. How has Nicole Kidman not made a movie that's higher grossing than Happy Feet? She's been in a lot of movies. She's a good actress. How is this her highest grossing film? I don't get it.
That's true. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's weird.
Brittany Murphy obviously passed away.
Yeah.
So that's not exactly.
Yeah, it's not as surprising for her, but I'm shocked that Nicole Kidman hasn't made a movie that's higher grossing than this. It's also the last film that Steve Irwin was in.
Yeah.
Speaking of Australian actors, because we mentioned earlier that there's a lot of Australian actors in Happy Feet. Initially, so they sing at one point. They sing Prince's song "Kiss." And initially he refused to allow the use of the song in the film, and then they showed him some footage of the film and he changed his mind and allowed the song to be used and also wrote an additional original song for the film to be used in the closing credits because he liked it so much. So he did a total 180 there. All of the dancers, so I mentioned that there's mocap for the penguin in this, all of the dancers in the film had to go through a penguin school to be able to capture the movements of penguins while they were dancing in mocap suits to be penguins. And also, they had to wear special headgear to simulate the penguin beaks to force them to accommodate that feature in the characters dancing. Which is fun. I just think that's a fun fact.
We had to look at some behind the scenes
footage of dancers in mocap suits with penguin beaks. Yeah, sounds great.
I think mocap is by far the coolest thing.
And this is 2006 that this was released.
Because that would have been just the weird ball doodads.
Yeah. So this is probably off the back of the success of the Lord of the Rings films.
Yeah. Because have you seen the behind the scenes footage of Benedict Cumberbatch doing the Smaug lines?
Yeah.
He's so I know Sir Ian McKellen cried because he was just I don't want to deal with green screens and
No, it wasn't. I don't know if it was green screen specifically. It was the fact that he was supposed to be acting with 12 other people and they were all just sticks with faces stuck on them.
Yeah.
Whereas when he did the Lord of the Rings films, they had size doubles.
Yeah.
So he's still acting with someone.
Versus Benedict Cumberbatch who's just crawling around on the floor.
Yeah, get real into it.
Yeah, acting like a dragon. It's great.
Yeah, I love that. I love people who put their role in it. But it's a whole different kettle of fish doing the mocap acting.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis obviously is a master.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are pretty darn good.
Which is why I find it strange you don't like the Planet of the Apes reboot.
It's not that I don't like it. When did I say I don't like it? Was it because I said I fell asleep watching it?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, well, story time. I saw... What was the first one? Rise of the Planet of the Apes? No, is the first one Rise? Rise...
Well, the new ones?
Yeah.
I think it's called Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
What's the middle one then? There's Rise. The last one is War for the Planet of the Apes, which I haven't seen. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is the second one. Yeah, so Rise of the Planet of the Apes is the first film in this trilogy. The reason I saw it in cinema, I mean, I probably would have gone to see it anyway, but then I didn't want to go see it a second time. The reason I saw it in cinema when I did is because one of my teeth died in my mouth. And I was in so much pain that I could not think, I could not speak, and I could not sleep. And I was in Canada living by myself as a teenager. I rang an emergency dentist at 1 a.m. on a Sunday with ice cream in my mouth to numb the pain. And I was like, hey, can I see a dentist? And they were like, do you need one right now? And I was like, probably not. I don't know. And I literally could not think. So they booked me in for like 10 a.m. with an emergency dentist. And when I went there, I was like, because I don't like pain medication. I don't take pain medication the vast majority of the time, no matter what pain I'm in. So I had not taken anything. I was just like absolutely out of my mind on pain.
Yeah.
So I went to this dentist. And the dentist was like, oh, we'll just do an x-ray. And I was like, I think I need a root canal. And he was like, you wouldn't be speaking to me if you needed a root canal. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he like did the x-ray and came running in and was like, you need a root canal right this second. And then he was like, but we don't have the tools here to do a full root canal. So I'm going to do half a root canal on you because I cannot let you leave this room without having some kind of something done. And then he was like, but you need to promise me tomorrow you will find a dentist and you will get this sorted. And I was like, oh, okay. So he did on the spot half a root canal, and patched it up and gave me some kind of pain medication that was like, I was like out of it. And one of the like two friends I had made in Canada had met me at the dentist because they were like, I don't want you to be on your own in this scenario. And then I was like, I'm fine. I can go home. I'm all right. I'll make my way home. And he was like, okay, let's just, how about we just like hang out here for an hour or something until you're okay. And then it was like, oh, there's a cinema here. Let's go to the cinema. And then I saw Rise of the Planet of the Apes while I was doped up after a half a root canal. And what you're quoting about me not liking it was the fact that I fell asleep during the action scene because I'm not a big fan of action movies or action sequences, and I was into it for the beginning of it. So there's an orangutan that does sign language phenomenal. There's there's Andy Serkis as a chimpanzee making friends with James Franco, who I don't like anymore, but at the time I don't think I hated yet.
Yeah, I don't think anybody hated him then.
That was cool. But then there was all this action. There's like police cars and things. I don't remember what happened. It was boring and I had a nap. That doesn't mean I hate the movie. It just means I hadn't slept the night before because I had to. I did get to sleep eventually, but I had to go to sleep with ice cream in my mouth. Which is probably not actually a good plan, but I literally couldn't think. I think it was also in the middle of a heat wave, so it was like 50 degrees Celsius. And I had just poured a bottle of water over myself and went to sleep in a puddle on the bed with ice cream in my mouth.
Yeah, that sounds like tooth pain.
Yeah, so that was my experience of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And I haven't seen it a second time. I might know nothing about the movie, though I think I just demonstrated that I know some things that happen in it.
I've got good news for you.
You have it on DVD or Blu-ray and you want to watch it now?
Not right now, it's too hot.
Okay.
There's a new one coming that's releasing.
There's a new one?
In 2024 called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay, I haven't seen the third one, War for the Planet of the Apes. I haven't seen that. I saw the second one because Gary Oldman was in it. Dawn of the Planet.
Yeah. It's weird.
I watched Dawn of the Planet of the Apes on a plane, so it's probably also not a great experience. I think that was on my way to New Zealand.
Yeah.
I think I watched Dawn of Planet of the Apes.
Because it goes Rise, Dawn, War, and then Kingdom.
Okay.
It's a weird naming
We'll
convention.
get around, before the next one comes out, we'll watch the first 3 so I have some idea of what's going on.
Okay.
We'll get to it, you know? It's alright. That's better than the Tim Burton one. But that has Tim Roth in it.
There are some good, like, going back, there are some good moments in that movie. I just think, in general, the ending really fucked up the entire movie because it makes no sense.
Can I just say, though, can we just point out that the original Planet of the Apes, the Charlton Heston one, that's a great movie.
Yeah.
That's an amazing movie. What a great movie. Good job, guys.
So, are we going to do a 3?
I don't know if you could do, I think Rise... No, I think the Rise series doesn't work, but we probably at some point when we get around to doing remakes and things, we probably could do the Charlton Heston one and the Tim Burton one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, because those are good. I mean, the first, that's a good. I mean, it was a remake of that movie, you know.
And there's something I can quote all the time.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah. Anyway. What was I doing? Oh yeah, so trivia for Surf's Up, because we haven't gotten into that yet. Well, I mean, I've talked about bits and pieces of it already, so we'll skip those ones. Oh, did I already give all of these pieces of trivia? Maybe I just remember the trivia for this.
I don't know.
I think I've given almost all of this trivia already, so I'm just going to skip it all. But one that I thought was fun was that in the IMDb trivia of Surf's Up, there are the words body count 9. Which is not...
What?
Sometimes we've seen films, I think like when we saw Dread, there's a body count in the IMDb trivia. You know, films where there's a lot of people killed in it, there tends to be a body count. I think this is the first time I've seen one for an animated film. But apparently, body count of 9 for Surf's Up. I imagine that includes both of their fathers.
Yeah.
Probably at least one crew member killed by the native penguins of that island. I don't know who else dies in it. 9 people, it says. 9. Did some of the other surfers die?
I don't know.
Anyway, but yeah, body count 9. But yeah, I think literally everything else that I took down as trivia I have already mentioned during the episode. So,
cool.
So I think we're good. We're good to finish. So we've gone on long because of my lovely story about Rise of Planet of the Apes, but that's your fault. Because you accused me of hating it.
I didn't accuse you of hating it. I just found it confusing that you don't like it.
Not that I don't like it.
You fell asleep.
I use it as an example of like evidence that I'm not an action person. That like action sequences are the boring parts of movies for me. So if you want me to be interested in an action movie, there has to be other interesting stuff happening, because just like action after action after action is just like a snooze fest.
Fair.
Anyway.
Check out our sponsor, photorestorenz.com.
Yep.
Spelt with an F. Promo code is it takes 2.
Yeah, all one word.
25% off.
25% off your photos restored.
You can find us on...
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at ittakes2_pod or Facebook at ittakes2pod. Our website is ittakes2.co.nz. And links to our Discord will be in the show notes and on our website and on our Twitter. I just did a thumbs up because I've forgotten what I'm doing. You can't hear that thumbs up, but know that I did one.
You can't hear that.
You can't hear that thumbs up, and we're not filming, which is good.
Yeah, because I'm not wearing a shirt. Thank you all for watching. I mean, we'll catch you next time.
Goodbye. So...